So we've had enough time to soak in the movie Black Panther. Came out, I believe, February 16th of this month. Did I really just say that? I said February 16th of this month. It came out this month, and I just saw it for the second time. And I plan to go see it again this weekend just to get my one last shot in. I've done this with a few movies like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Interstellar, The Wolf of Wall Street. I've done this with a couple movies, not tons, that I would literally go back and see like multiple times. And I know Black Panther is probably the most anticipated movie of 2018, judging by how it performed at the box office, judging by, you know, the reception on social media, on review platforms. So I wanted to make this video just to give my take on the movie, the reception, you know, responding to reception, and just a quick overview of what the film was about. I know a lot of people wanted to know my thoughts on it, so here we go. Black Panther, for those who don't know, is a Marvel superhero, but in this movie, T'Challa, the protagonist here, is portrayed less as a hero and more of a king with very internal conflicts. So the film basically starts off in California in a hood, and T'Challa's father goes to see his brother, T'Challa's uncle, and the conversation starts off good, but it ends up turning into a berating session when T'Challa's uncle realizes that his right-hand man has been a spy from Wakanda the entire time. And the movie pretty much starts out with M'Jobu arguing that black people in general would fare a lot better just in that country, in that system, if they had the tools necessary to prop themselves up above the rest. He acknowledges that there is a lot of segregation, a lot of racial divide, an attempt to prevent certain people from prevailing by not giving them the same tools as other people within that same land. So he's the one who's basically giving that information to Claw. The film essentially starts off like that. That's going to be the precursor for majority of the conflict within the Black Panther movie. So all you idiots in the comment section that were going crazy talking about, oh man, y'all really think Black Panther is going to be about black people to some extent? Like, shut up. You haven't even seen the fucking film yet, and why wouldn't it be a statement about that? It's obvious. You look stupid. T'Challa, after reuniting with Nakia, goes back to Wakanda to, you know, accept his place on the throne. He's challenged by M'Baku, who I don't really like the challenging system in this movie at all. I mean, if the purpose of this movie is to be ruled by a good king, I thought it should have been judged by character, not by brawn or by brute strength. If that is the case, anyone with any whacked out ideology could easily take the throne. Unless, of course, they're saying you have to be from a specific tribe in order to be up for consideration. Because Killmonger, from what I know, went into it and was able to challenge T'Challa pretty much based off his bloodline. As we continue in the film, we're introduced to characters like Everett, W'Kabi, Okoye, Shuri. I would say there are elements of this movie that actually remind me of The Dark Knight Rises. The witty, sarcastic responses from Shuri are kind of what I would get from an Alfred or a Fox. She's like the combination of those two characters in my opinion, so I think her character is awesome. Although the fight between Batman and Bane was pretty anticlimactic in my opinion, there is a defeat of T'Challa, a rise, and a defeat of Erik Killmonger. As we progress through the film, we're introduced to Erik Killmonger, who was portrayed by Michael B. Jordan in this film. We find out that Eric's true goal was never to work under Claw, it was just to offer Claw as a sacrifice to Wakanda so that he could be taken to see T'Challa, so that he could challenge him, so that he could become the king, take the throne, and then send vibranium to other places of the world so that their people could all thrive in all nations. I'm very empathetic towards a character like Erik Killmonger because when you look at him, you see someone who is a product not only of their environment, but someone who wants to see their people thrive. You can see with his time in office, although short-lived, was not spent tormenting the people of Wakanda. It was spent honestly trying to use their resources. Erik Killmonger went about his process in a completely wrong way. You see that he ended up taking the wrong approach, which ultimately led to his downfall. Unfortunately, Erik tries to be a dictator as opposed to trying to be a king. And that's probably one of the biggest downfalls of the movie itself, is that Erik Killmonger doesn't come at this from a very strategic standpoint at all. For him to have been working towards this goal for so long, you would have thought he would have better planned it, maybe tried to get more people on his side, maybe tried to get more of the Wakanda nation to understand him. I feel like his methods would have been better accepted had he come at this from the standpoint of a king and less of a dictator. I have to give props to what, in my opinion, may be the most underrated character in this entire movie, and it might possibly be the best portrayed, is Okoye, that's played by Denai Guerrera, I think her name is. In every scene she's in, she either dominates in the comedic effect, in the sarcastic effect, in the action effect. Her fight scenes are probably the best in the entire film. Of course, there's not a lot of emphasis put on her character as she is a side character, but still, She does the best in this movie to me. And she's the most badass. She literally uses one of her spears to hold onto the top of the car that is being driven by Nikita in an attempt to catch Claw, and harpoons a fucking truck. Another thing to point out about Erik Killmonger is his resolve. He literally kills his girlfriend or his love interest, which immediately reminds me of the Sasuke that was pulled on Naruto, where he tells Karin everything's gonna be okay and stabs her through the heart just to get Danzo. Some of you might not know what that is. I'm a bit of a weeaboo, but still. It shows how clear-cut his method to get revenge is. He finally meets up with T'Challa. They fight. T'Challa loses in a really bad way. Zuri is also killed in this fight, which to me, I guess is impactful for T'Challa. As far as the audience is concerned, I don't think we had enough time with Zuri to really care about him dying like that. And I would have thought Erik Killmonger would have taken his time with Zuri, since he is the one who ended up getting his father killed. He throws T'Challa over the edge, takes his place on the throne, and decides to send vibranium or weapons with vibranium to the rest of the world so that black people all over the world can thrive and survive and be on top. Of course, we find out that T'Challa isn't actually dead. He's actually saved by M'Baku. Nakia ends up getting one of the heart-shaped herbs, trying to give it to M'Baku because she doesn't actually know that T'Challa is alive. Once they figure it out, they give it to T'Challa. He wakes up. He's ready to fight. He goes back home, ready to take on Killmonger. Everyone fights. All this movie proved, your allies become your enemy. There was no other army. This is literally just Wakabi and Okoye end up fighting pretty much. Their army is pretty much on the battlefield. No one else is here. The real enemy is Killmonger, and he's one guy. T'Challa and Killmonger have their round 2. T'Challa wins by stabbing Erik Killmonger in the heart. He's then praised by Killmonger because apparently, you know, flipping over a knife and stabbing me in the heart with it was a good move. Instead of just killing him on the spot, T'Challa takes Erik to a sunset because that's what his father's always wanted him to see. He sees it. He acknowledges it as beautiful. Then T'Challa says, hey, we can still save you. Erik Killmonger delivers what might be the best line in any Marvel movie in history before his death. Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped off the boats because they knew death was better than bondage. And that one line right there proves the entire difference between the character T'Challa and Erik Killmonger. One who wants to see his people free and one who wants to see his people exist. T'Challa ends up taking on Erik Killmonger's methods in the end of the film by going back to California in the hood and buying a couple establishments in order to help out their situation. And that's essentially the movie in what I could say I hope was about 5 minutes. So after seeing it twice, there were a few things that I definitely could appreciate. One of those things first being the connection between how Black Panther and Wakanda deals with immigrants and how America deals with immigrants. The whole purpose of Wakanda was to preserve and protect their own people. They rarely got into anyone else's business, and they made sure to stay secluded from the rest of the world. Erik Killmonger references this in the film. You guys are up here sitting nice and pretty, but our people are out there dying and in the street, and their excuse is we don't know who they are and we can't have people coming in here that could threaten our lives. And immediately there's a connection between that and how America is dealing with the current immigration situation. Unfortunately though, for America, Wakanda has never participated in any other world events, while America has. Another thing I love about this movie is how it holds on to African culture, like those African roots, while still advancing at the same time, proving you can still hold on to something and advance simultaneously. It's an Afro-futuristic film, one that pays a lot of homage to the African lineage, while also saying, hey, we can, you know, keep up with the times as well. Another selling point for this film is how much stronger the Wakanda people seem to be from knowing their past, thus knowing what should be important and what to protect, having responsibilities, etc. You see Erik Killmonger in this film is a lot angrier. He has a point to prove. There is nothing that he really values. I mean, in the beginning of the film, he even destroys his own love interest. There is nothing that this dude holds close to him, and that's because he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he wants to protect. He has a goal in mind of wanting people to come out of a certain situation, but unlike the people of Wakanda, he doesn't actually know who he is or where he stems from, which makes his character even better because he can identify with those other people that live in America that have no idea where they come from either. I mean, watching this film, it makes you really upset if you were ever hear that argument from someone that you shouldn't be upset about slavery because you weren't affected by it. Dude, I don't even know my last name. I can't go back 10 generations and still know exactly where I stem from. Any man or woman is a million times greater when they know who they are versus when they do not. And we currently have millions of black youth in America who have no idea who they are. Of course, you can define and shape yourself to be the person you want to be. I'm just saying lineage-wise, knowing where you come from, knowing who you are, knowing who your ancestors were. we can obtain access to that information, but it's not available just on the fly. We were raised and brought up learning European culture. We weren't brought up learning African culture, learning what gods were worshipped, learning what internal conflict happened with African nations early on. We didn't learn that stuff. And there wasn't easy access to it when you were 9, 10, 11 years old. That's the thing that's so bittersweet about this movie, is even though it's fiction, it tells a story of what could have been had we as black people knew, respected, valued, then advanced our culture. The amount of us that could have advanced an entire civilization is maddening to think about. The wealth, the culture, the identity crisis we'd be ending, the sense of helplessness we'd be ending, and the idea of togetherness that we'd be sparking. When you look at a movie like this, it's just like so motivating to see this many black people just living in a nation together and just supporting one another. Even those people like M'Baku who disagree with T'Challa's methods still have a place where they can call home. You know, this movie impacts in a different way than just something that's supposed to be a superhero movie, because in the film, I like how T'Challa isn't represented as a Black Panther like a superhero, but more as the conflict within his own nation. And I gotta tell you, the black people that I went to go see this movie with, we were sad. We were sad when we left the theater, because we acknowledged and looked at that and saw like this could have happened. This could have been us. Of course, not superhuman strength or anything like that, but having a nation where all of us support one another without having something as devastating as being enslaved and having your identity and your history stripped from you and forced to settle in that same country it's really maddening. If things had been another way, like it sucks. Of course we can make that happen still, but there's way too many of us that have already been colonized. I just love the duality of this movie. I love how Erik Killmonger is portrayed and how T'Challa is portrayed. One character with a father, one that knows his history, one that knows exactly who he is and what he needs to protect, versus one who doesn't know his history, doesn't know exactly where he stems from, doesn't really know what to protect, has a vision, but has no one to guide him, or hadn't had anyone to guide him because he's fatherless. Grew up in the US. That's more of a common story in the US. It shows a parallel, I feel, of one black man that could end up this way if he had this, and one that could end up this way if he doesn't have this. So I love the movie for the discussion that it sparks and the conversation that it brings up, especially us as black people, you know, looking at it from that point of view. There's so much about the film that you can appreciate, be a little bit saddened by at the same time. But of course, with all things, none of this is perfect. Although I do praise this movie for its strong statement, there are elements of the film that I just could have done without. One of those elements being the really crappy at moments CGI that's done with the film, especially during the fight with Erik Killmonger and T'Challa. Sometimes it's just noticeably 06, like really bad graphics at some points. And I know a lot of people might not notice it, but if you have a friend who's like a graphic designer, or if you've watched movies that really focus highly on that quality, like if you've seen the movie Interstellar, you'll see how beautiful cinematically these movies look. I think the camera work is amazing. I love the way the land looks. It's beautiful. Although there is some good acting in the film, I do think that at some points Michael B. Jordan's character, Erik Killmonger, is a little bit overacted. There's sometimes heavy emphasis placed on lines that are just awkward to me, like when Erik says he's gonna kill T'Challa, or when he's stripping himself down getting ready to fight. I get that he's angry, but at some moments in the film the anger doesn't come off authentic. It comes off as very forced. There are some moments in the film where Michael B. Jordan's acting does redeem itself, like the opening scene where he first gets introduced, where he's acting very normal and everything seems to just roll off the tongue, especially his "hey auntie" line when he goes and meets up with T'Challa. That was hilarious, and I might speak to that not being who Michael B. Jordan really is. I mean, maybe Chadwick Boseman was so easily portrayed as T'Challa in the film because that's a lot of who he really is. Another thing in this film that I didn't really like was Claw being executed so early in the film. I mean, for him to have caused so much havoc in regards to Wakanda, for him to be taken out so easily and for him to not expect it was just really weird to me. You have a guy here who has information about Wakanda, who's got someone on the inside, and he doesn't expect to be betrayed at any point. I think he's killed literally like within the first 40 minutes of the film. The fight scenes are a little bit anticlimactic. Now, I did actually enjoy the fight scene between T'Challa and M'Baku. He had his own good reason for wanting to fight T'Challa, just feeling like T'Challa isn't a good leader. Having technical technical developments be from a child, pretty much, was one of his main concerns. So everything he was saying was reasonable. He also put up a good fight, but he's spared by T'Challa in the end. Out of the fight scenes that T'Challa actually participates in, I think that was the best one. The fight between him and Erik Killmonger is really anticlimactic in the end for me. Not a lot is going on, not a lot is happening. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if they are having their powers of the Black Panther sapped before they begin fighting, why wasn't T'Challa a little bit more hurt after he was stabbed in the chest by a spear from M'Baku? Dude walked that shit off like he didn't even get touched. Same thing happened when he was thrown off a cliff. Dude had every inch of his body sliced open and then was thrown off of a cliff from however many stories high and somehow manages to have his body recovered. Another question I have about this film is, if Killmonger burned all the heart-shaped herbs and T'Challa pretty much has the last one, can they just make more, or is that just the end of the Black Panther? I have my discrepancies with it, obviously. I have my issues. Maybe there's some plot holes here and there. Maybe some things that I don't like the CGI being bad, especially during some of the fight scenes. I just think the good really outweighs the bad in this film to me. And for everything that this film says, and for all the possibilities that you could walk out of the theater thinking about after viewing it, I think it deserves what I'm about to give it. Black Panther, the movie. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the movie, please go watch it again. Go watch it one more time. Support this movie. It's made amazing money so far. I want to see it reach $1 billion. It probably will. But yeah, I'm going to go see it again this weekend just to get one last good look at it. I've already seen it twice, but I want to see it one more time. I hope you guys did enjoy the film. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know how you felt about it in the comment section down below. I'm genuinely curious to know what you took from it, what it gave you, what feelings and emotions you felt while watching it. I really need to know. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. It's been Shawn C, and I'm out. Peace.